are still watching day number 2 of, or should I say night number 2? Nah, it's day number 2 of the IESF World Esports Championship 2024. This is going to be the second series of tonight's broadcast. We're going to be featuring Egypt to go up against Indonesia to determine who stays and who goes in the tournament in terms of like the group stage. My name is Hans Galleria, and together with me is Womi, and just like what we mentioned a while ago, from the first series, we've seen the United States of America claim victorious over what seemed to be a possible dark horse underdog storyline. And I feel like for Egypt, they're the ones in the chopping block right now, because Indonesia needs to find a way to get this victory for them to continue in the tournament.
Yeah, and after that one big shocking series between Saudi Arabia and Indonesia, that sweep coming in from Saudi Arabia, Indonesia finds themselves in a spot that they didn't expect to be in. And up against Egypt, that's another team around the region of Saudi Arabia. They might have learned something from that KSA matchup that might give them that competitive edge against Egypt right now. But still, we don't know what could happen in this entire series, and tournament life is on the line for Indonesia. I know Albert has said a lot of things in the internet, but none of those matter right now. He will be trying his best to bring back Indonesia to life.
I mean, we're gonna have to see on how different the play style is of Indonesia in terms of their approach from Saudi Arabia. Because again, from what we've seen from before, this Indonesian squad has had experience, being an understatement. We're going to be taking a look at some of the players that are going to be filling up as of the moment. Pretty familiar faces, to be specific. And now it's still going to be Luke with, you know, the Fnatic Onyx roster from Indonesia.
Yeah, and this is one of those teams that we know that could achieve so much. In the last or most recent M Series World Championship, they went all the way to Game 7 of the Grand Finals. Yes, they did have a different jungler and an XP laner, but 3 of these players have already experienced that type of international play. And IESF is no different. It's one of those world tournaments that you want to be able to bring veterans like these 3 in as well. So up against Egypt, it's going to be really, I would say, the gap between their tournament experience would really have to show, because these people are very, I would say, familiar faces as well that we've seen so far in the M Series and in the international stage.
I agree. Like, familiar faces such as Alpha, Maro, and, you know, Speedy are the players that I feel like I have witnessed whenever I watched, like, a lot of World Championship games back then. But I feel like Joki is one of those players that I haven't really seen, or I haven't really heard in terms of like play style. So I wonder, going up against this team, Egypt going up against Indonesia, I assume that maybe there's a chance that some of these players have already matched up before, and they know what it takes to be able to win in this respective series. They know that in terms of other international tournaments as well, it would really matter as to how they will be able to find something. You are currently finding that redeem code that is currently on your screens right now. So go ahead, take a look, probably type it already. I know most of you guys are probably prepared with their phones right now, so you can go and claim it, because as of the moment while we speak, it's finally gone now. So it's going to be taken away as well by us. So yeah, just like that, it's finally gone. But again, just like what I was saying a while ago, these are familiar faces from each respective countries. Indonesia kind of like being a little bit more popular, but it's going to be up to Egypt to pull the same kind of strategy and upset that Saudi Arabia did going up against Indonesia in that first match.
Let's see if the Saudi Arabian magic is still up in Riyadh. All of these players about to compete as well. 10 seconds before the draft starts, Egypt really has to pull one off against Indonesia. If they give game 1 to this Indonesian squad, we've seen how momentum could carry this squad. We've seen them crush their first enemies in the group stage, and that was day 1 yesterday. They just, I think, ended that series with 2 games less than 12 minutes. So now that we are in the draft, gotta say, it's looking quite standard. Taking away the chip, taking away the Zhu Shen, and the rest. These are picks that we know that you cannot give away for free.
Yeah, so as of this moment, if you are Egypt, you do have the Soyu and the Alpha still available. I feel like you're gonna have to do a throw ban here if you're Egypt. So at least you have some sort of option in terms of like that chunk of position. I mean, you still have other heroes that you could potentially ban here. And yeah, that's exactly what they're gonna do. They take the Eve out, but they leave the Hilda. They leave a lot of options here for Luke to utilize if they want to get the victory. And the Hilda is gonna be the obvious first choice because you have options for the junglers anyway.
Yeah, the Gatot Gacha open to match that Hilda in case they do want that. The Khalid as well. So the Hilda in the XP lane, this is pretty much locked in already. We haven't seen a lot of roam Hilda so far, but yes, that is still available. But in terms of XP lanes right now, Hilda is within top 5. So I would say that it's almost already sure that it will go to the hands of Luke. And for Egypt, I would really suggest getting Gatot Kacha early. You don't want to give that, or even a high loss, something that could match that type of intensity in the front line coming in from Hilda. And they do pick up the Suyu. The Alpha is still available, but looks like they're not going to take any of the tanky options. They're going to go immediately for the Aurora. And now for the side of Indonesia, they could choose whatever they want. The High Loss is still open, the Gatot Kacha is still open, and both of them really good in the roam role too.
Yeah, we've seen some of those combinations being played in like the past 2 days, or maybe in that previous series as well. You have the Hilda and the Gatot Kacha that really posed a lot of problems, specifically for Morocco when US started to use it. So it really is going to be important and crucial for Indonesia to just select those heroes as expected. We could see an Alpha here being played. As of this moment, the Gatot Kacha apparently is not being minded by both of the teams. They're going for the Lu Yi and the Alpha to mix it up.
Interesting as well. They take the Arlot instead. These people are playing at their own field, and I would say for Indonesia, this is very much a good response. You have a mid-range mage that deals crowd control and damage. You match it up with the Lu Yi, you have more edge in terms of macro plays because of diversion. And with this Alpha pick, it's one of those standard picks that you always pick up against a Suyu. Whenever you see a Suyu first pick, there's always an answer. And most of the time, or 90% of the time, if Alpha's open, that's going to be the lock-in. And as we enter the second banning phase, looks like they're going to take away the Cho. One of those options that could definitely put the Suyu in danger. But I guess this is more so targeted. Like, we're talking about Kiboy here, and we know that Kiboy loves to play around this Cho.
Yeah, I'm not going to be surprised if Khalid is also taken out of the equation here for Egypt. We know that, Kiboy and even Luke can utilize it, but for most of the time that we see the Hilda being played, it's mostly in the EXP lane. So I feel like that is where the Hilda is going to be staying. And Egypt also thinks of the same thing as well, thus banning out the Tigreal. So this gives Egypt kind of like a bit more room to find a counter towards the roam of Indonesia. But you're also going to have to mind that Egypt also doesn't have a roamer of their own as we speak. So the Cho and Tigreal, as much as those are heroes that could be very well used by Kiboy, they're not letting it go. And there goes the Gatot Kacha finally taken out before it gets picked.
Something tells me that this Arlot could be a flex pick as well. This might be a roam Arlot. We haven't seen that for the longest time, but still a very effective choice if you're able to play it well. The XP lane matchup between this Arlot and the Hilda is not looking great for the Arlot so far. Nobody could really mess up the Hilda level 1. This Arlot's going to have to buy this time if ever it's going to go to the XP lane. And with this Nathan pickup coming in from Egypt, I think for the side of Indonesia, they're going to match that up with a 1-1. So this is quite the peculiar matchup because in terms of range, 1-1's going to have a bad time against this Nathan. But the moment, come level 4, it's going to be a significantly better laning phase for the side of this 1-1. And with this Akai pick, Both of them are still pretty much flex picks. We gotta wait for the loading screen to see whether or not it's gonna be XP Akai or Rome Akai, and then the same could be said for the Arlong.
That was actually, quick pressing immediately by the side of Egypt, just going for it whenever they have a chance to. They seem so sure with the Akai pickup here going onto the side of Egypt, and also taking note of the early game pressure that will be arriving from Indonesia. I know that Nathan could be one of the most annoying gold laners come the late game, right? But in terms of like the early game, you have the Louis, you have the Hilda, you even have at least the Alpha as well to take control of the early game output in terms of damage, which is the reason, or which is going to be one of their concerns, right? If they want to hopefully extend this game to maybe around 15 minutes or more, just so Speedy would be able to back up his damage output with more of those items. And you're right, CW could probably have a bit of a hard time into trying to scale very fast, but if they get a kill this quickly, if they apply pressure in certain parts of the map, that's not where CW is, and maybe they can do something about it.
Crucial error as well coming in from Joki, pressing that regen quite quickly, so he couldn't really survive for long here in the mid lane. A lot of pressure coming in from Indonesia at the get-go. Luke might just fall down though. He will be able to heal up for just a bit. Gets Maro before falling down to Kenji, and now Sans has to flicker away. It's a 1-for-1. The first blood goes to Indonesia.
Yup, and that is Luke getting a kill, but also Kenji. So I feel like this is very much ideal as well for Egypt, because your jungler gets the kill, and Kenji can apply a huge amount of damage output. That is not the most ideal option if you are Egypt. A 1-for-1 or a 1v1 kill gets or taken by CW, and it is up against Speedy as well, so he's going to be held back just a bit more in terms of that gold output.
That's true, and I gotta say, when you're playing gold lane, that's one of the worst things that you could do, dying in a 1v1 setup. But this is a 2v2, and Maro might just bite the dust, but the regen comes in quickly. Indonesia just having fun in the early game so far, dealing a lot of damage, making sure that they're using this Hilda and Alpha towards their full potential.
That was the question that we've had in mind heading forward into this second series. What is, or what kind of Indonesian team are we going to be seeing in this one? Is it the one that the one that we saw back when they went up against Saudi Arabia, or is this a completely refined, completely evolved form of Indonesia? And so far I feel like we're seeing the latter, just because of them asserting their dominance in 1v1 play, something that we kind of like expected for them to do, but they haven't really showcased that when they went up against Saudi Arabia. But even so, they're just overwhelming them in terms of numbers. But even in the midst of that, Egypt unable to get a kill for themselves.
And I think they do have an idea, but that's not going to be enough to survive that. That's 2 quick kills going to the hands of Team Indonesia, and there will be no trade-off coming in from Egypt. Just an onslaught of early game coming in from the Indonesian squad.
Just good heads of play here coming in from the side of Sans, knowing that there was not a lot of information being given to Egypt. Meanwhile, it's going to be Speedy once again. He's going to be held back once more. Kiboy lands on that heal. Kenji is out here looking for blood. Kiboy is going to go down, but CW already having a grasp of that gold or energy shields. Meanwhile, Maro's also going to go down in the process. Man, this is a huge amount of bloodbath that is being displayed by Indonesia. 6 kills in just 3 minutes of gameplay.
And this is what you get when you have a Louis, a Hilda, an Alpha, and to add that off, a Khalid as well. 4 of the heroes coming in from Indonesia are just really strong in the early game, and they know how to use this. Indonesia capitalizing on the power spike of their heroes, and CW having the time of his life farming, and even getting a solo kill against Speedy is not helping Egypt at all. Looking at the gold score and the kill score, things are getting out of hand. They're starting to look bad for Egypt.
Yeah, not the most ideal situation here for Egypt. Speedy already in two deaths. Yes, he has an assist to just be able to add a little bit of like consolation prize in terms of the gold value, but Indonesia is already at their full on confidence as to how they would want to approach this game. They are starting to group together. Usually that's not the most ideal scenario, but because they are already establishing a 4K gold lead, they're not very shy to do that.
Oh no, and another kill might just go to the hands of Indonesia, but Egypt takes one for themselves. Luke might be in trouble too. Half HP, their Vitalize is there, but nice final slash there coming in from the R-Lot, and looks like the Hilda's finally gonna go down after a lot of damage. That's 2 kills going to the hands of Egypt. What a great play.
Look at the transition as well from Egypt. They immediately went on to the bot lane. They really didn't want to push onto that mid side, onto that mid lane immediately. They wanted to translate it into an objective.
Albert, low HP. Maro still alive. Sans looking for another one though, but Speedy is able to walk away unscathed. And the 1-1 Ghost in the Skies get this kill on the Aurora. It looks like Indonesia, they will be winning that trade. And fortunately for Egypt, they're going to be able to survive with a sliver of health.
They're really going to have to be careful at this point in time. Maro just minding his own business, and then all of a sudden, there is CW and Sans hiding on that right side of the bot lane, and the bush was just enough at the right space for Sans to use a diversion play, bring CW around, and mind you, CW is already at 4-0-0. We kind of like thought that CW is gonna have his own set of problems just being there in the laning phase, but 6 minutes in, he's doing so much better than Speedy at this point.
And now for Egypt, the winner's crown suddenly has a tremendous value. You don't want to have any of those crossbow of tanks. And nice, a kill coming in from Egypt. Maro might go down as well. It's a 1-for-1, and that trade-off is looking quite healthy as Luke is able to give vision coming in from Indonesia. Kiboy, the only one to go down, and another one in the bottom lane for Indonesia. Egypt is looking to lose every trade for the past 3 team fights that we've seen.
Yeah, just not the best set of decisions. A series of unfortunate events here for the side of Egypt, because again, most of the skills that they were throwing hasn't really found a good amount of synergy, because as of this moment, you see Alpha at least building up that Guardian's helmet, so that's the most ideal, and they would also get to trade a turret down bottom for their turret up top. Unfortunately, Kiboy has been that person who would always take the brunt of the damage. That time he was able to escape, and Joki not in the best position, using the flicker to be able to get away, but he is completely surrounded by most of the members in it. That means that it is not only 1 but 2. Here's more.
What a great play coming in from Alpha, getting Chewe down, and now Kiboy and the rest of the squad grinding Maro, but a final slash buys a bit of time. Alpha will be trying to get away, and still that is a 4-for-1. Chewe goes down 4-4 in Egypt. Another losing trade, sadly.
Yeah, they had an idea of like trying to lure them inside that mid lane, the mid lane in between turrets, but apparently Indonesia has encountered too many of that, and at this point they're probably used to like a strategy such as that one to be able to be executed onto perfection. So Indonesia, not only were they able to take a lot of lives from Egypt, but they were also able to take the purple objective and position themselves better in this very first lord of this game, as the Hilda is already in unfamiliar territory, or in like opposing waters, and he's targeting Alpha this time.
Yeah, and Sans has to flicker away. Speedy in the midst of the battle. Frigid Glazer doesn't really land on anyone, but the 1-1 goes to the skies. Might just get Maro as well. They're gonna go for the crossbow of Tang no more, because it will be a double kill for CW, and the Lord as well for Indonesia. A couple of great plays, couple of great kills, and the momentum is felt for the Indonesian squad.
Not the best decision there from Egypt. No vision whatsoever in terms of that river bush, and they just decided to go and break loose. They had an idea, but it was just a horrible miss there from the Egyptian side, because they had at least means for them to be able to check where the rest of Indonesia could potentially be coming from. And in that moment, they were unable to do that. Now they're going to have to worry about a Lord marching on the bot side and a Nathan of Speedy that hasn't even gotten his third item yet.
Diversion on the back sends Kiboy, but looks like it's gonna be too much for Egypt. No, it's gonna be too much for Indonesia instead. That's 2 kills going down for Egypt, and Alpho gonna be able to go back to the base. Albert might just be in trouble here, but Maro is able to dash back to the Lord. What a great play coming in from Egypt. The response to that diversion, what a quick reaction coming in from Alpho.
Yeah, that they're allocating the balance of who takes the damage output first. It was a very risky move to put Speedy in quite a very difficult position, but even so, he was able to stay alive. So that is going to be a certain scenario that maybe Egypt could capitalize on whether or not they would extend the duration of this game to even more minutes. And Indonesia's been doing so well.
Whoa!
They currently have an 8K goal lead, and just like that,
the invisible diversion play once again, but the final slash lands into Albert. Might be in trouble here, but Genji defending their base. Maro goes to the sky. CW, no more crossbow of Tang available. That's 2 people immediately down for Egypt as they take down Luke as well. It becomes a 2-for-2, and things are looking great for Egypt. A 10K gold lead cut into 7.5. That's some progress.
Yeah, this is starting to give Egypt a little glimmer of hope, just because of how they have been performing in this very first game. You're currently seeing Maro having not the best of records in 179, but Genji has been doing a really good job trying to secure most of his objectives, and that would not have been possible without Speedy and Alpha just taking care of most of the stuff, where as Indonesia, on the other hand, you have at least Sans, who has been taking well care of himself, even though he's the one who would always make those risky plays. So something has to give here. Can Egypt play defense up until Indonesia gets tired, or will Indonesia finally finish it once and for all?
Let's see, because this Lord is going to be very important for Indonesia. They've been struggling to get those inhibitor turrets, but Luke is just providing so much vision. It's going to be a free Luminous Lord for the squad of Indonesia, and another big defense upcoming for Egypt. Diversion up there, heavy spin burnt as well, and they're going to be able to defend for now, but looks like they're going to have to reserve all of those battle spells for the upcoming defense inside the base.
Lord is about to spawn in just a few seconds from now, and from everything that I have witnessed here, most especially from Indonesia, this is the kind of gameplay that most of their Indonesian counterparts are really looking forward to do, because for the longest time, right, Indonesia has been capitalizing more on the micro other than the macro, but Egypt is also a region that's trying to learn more about that kind of concept. But as of this moment, already a single inhibitor finally down. They're looking forward to extending it even.
Speedy trying to get that Lord to melt down as fast as possible. 1 inhibitor turret left here for the side of Egypt, and looks like the final slash is not going to land on anyone. A heavy spin, though, will land on 1, trying to defend their entire base here. Nice Raging Sandstorm coming in from Kiboy. Takes down Maro, and Jockey looks to be next. But look at the damage coming in from Speedy. It might just...
oh my goodness.
...actually fake everyone out. And Egypt able to defend against Indonesia. What an insane play coming in from Speedy.
Man, just when you thought that it's about to be over, this is one of the reasons why, Speedy, or should I say the Nathan, has always been part of most compositions for the side of, for MLBB so far. And it's because of how well the wave clear potential coming in from that Nathan really poses a problem for most of the teams, and I feel like that is exactly what they're going to try to do now: invade more of the objectives that have been taken away from them, and with that, start off a potential comeback. And Womi, this is what you've been mentioning a while ago. Does Egypt have something in the tank to somewhat bring them right back into this game? Now from 7 to 8K, they're back to within 4K at least.
Yeah, this is already a manageable gold lead. This is not an impossible team fight to win now. And for Indonesia, they've tried several times with the diversion played. I think 2 to 3 times they tried to just ulti their way to finishing this game. But sadly, Egypt has been able to respond to all of them. And this might just be one of the most important objective or most important team fight that they could play around. Kiboy cannot make a mistake here. He has to be able to find Speedy, because this Nathan is not running a Purify. One stun is all it takes for Egypt to crumble.
At this point in time, I feel like if you are Egypt, the idea is for you to take it slow, but apparently that's not going to be the case.
No way.
Because they want to go and take one down. Kiboy is at the middle, at the thick of it all. Kenji is going to be there trying to force the team fight in, but CW, the man at the moment, is going to be able to fly, landing on that crossbow of 10 towards the other members as well. But CW is going to be there together with Albert, 2 damage dealers from the side of Indonesia.
No way.
Will they be able to do it against 4 other members of Egypt? This is the idea that they have. The base is going to be there, Womi.
The 4v2, now a 3v2. One has to defend the base. It's up to Albert. He has to find this Lord. He has to be able to either clear out Egypt or file the retribution quite well on this Lord area. But looks like Alpha in a lot of trouble defending this one. It's still going to be close, though. They do take down Maro, and looks like Speedy might be next. The diversion coming in from Indonesia comes in clutch, and they're going to be able to take down Joki as well. Kenji and Alpha left to defend against Indonesia, and Luke is already inside the base of Egypt. Heavy spin is going to be used, but to no avail, and this might just be the ending push coming in from Indonesia. Game 1 might just be going to Indonesia, but looks like Kenji, he's going to fall down, and they're going to go base lock. That's Indonesia taking game number 1.
Oh, wow. I don't know about you, Omi, but I felt like Egypt had their hopes up during one of those moments where they brought 3 heroes down. But again, the experience that was played by CW and Albert, being at least not a very squishy hero in Suyu and a very squishy hero in 1-1, 2 against 4. They know that they have the macro ability, and this is the benefit of just, you know, trying to push most of your lanes, especially the lane that's farthest away from that Lord fight, and they really benefited from that, getting this specific victory.
And this is the difference in the Liu Yi. The diversion just came in clutch for that Lord fight. Yes, they were able to get Maro in that 2v3 setup, but without that diversion, I feel like it could have ended something worse for Indonesia. And that was quite the close game. A 10k gold lead that almost turned out against Indonesia, and that's not looking great. Like, I know Indonesia still won in the end, but Egypt really put them into a tight corner with that Nathan. And moving forward to game number 2, surely Egypt has something else in the bag, you know. And Indonesia, they're fighting for turn it live. You can say for Egypt as well, and both of them are playing really well in this game number 1.
Yeah, and I feel like for Egypt this time around, they can't be phased with what has happened in this specific game number 1, because again, that there were ample opportunities for them to actually get the victory, and you've seen them turn those team fights around, something that we don't necessarily see from Indonesia, right? Where they would naturally get the domination possible and land on towards those skills, land on towards those objective takes. But you're right, they have to be a little cleaner in terms of execution to avoid most of the possibilities for Egypt to happen, because it's just like what we saw a while ago, they really are good at punishing in terms of like counter attack. The composition of this team that we had right over here. As we look at the statistics as of the moment, Speedy already having at least 6 kills and 6 assists already. An entirely full build for the guy. Would have been a game changer had not there been a final team fight that was forced by Indonesia. Because again, they had the lead for momentarily of it, or for the majority of it, but Egypt tried to fight back. Although I feel like you're going to have something else to say regarding the draft patterns of Egypt in this one.
Egypt definitely played well against Indonesia, but Sans definitely gave that competitive edge to Indonesia, willing them towards this victory. Not only did that diversion play around that Lord area gave them that ensured teamfight victory, but sure, there has been some diversion plays that didn't end well for the side of Egypt, but those were the correct calls. And those were the diversion plays that would, I would say, like a 50-50. Sometimes you would win the team fight. If you won that team fight, then sure, you could end the game. If you lose that, then better luck next time. And sadly for the side of Indonesia, there were 2 better luck next times, and Speedy was able to build a bit of the items he needs, but eventually they did find that winning team fight, and that was all they needed for that entire game to be theirs. And that's why I do think Lu Yi, if your enemy knows how to play this well, just take it out. It's one of those picks that just breaks tempo so well in the current meta.
Yeah, we were talking about like during the start of the draft, we were kind of like surprised as to why the Gatot Kacha hasn't really been given attention by both of these teams. And in fact, as far as I can remember, the second pick of Indonesia was that Louis that went on to Sans, and we were thinking what the role of the Louis is going to be like in terms of like the composition that they've had, and it fits so well just because of how well the team gels in terms of the early game aggression, just because they have Hilda and also because they have the other things on their side. And you also have another redeem code as well for your convenience, where you can get a ton of prizes from MLBB as well, so make sure to claim it right away. Who knows what kind of price you have there in store for you. Maybe it's like a recall. I don't know. I'm getting your hopes up.
Hopefully.
Just like what happened in game number 1. But right as of this moment, this is a chance for you guys to claim it, and I think someone already claimed it, so that's sad. But this series, I feel like, is still up for grabs for both of these teams. It's really going to be up to execution on how either Egypt is going to bounce back from this game, or Indonesia will be continuing to make it into the playoffs.
I feel like Indonesia was having fun in that game 1 as well. They were playing heroes that were brutally good in the early game, and they knew how to play the early game really well. So I feel like that's also lesson number 1 for Egypt rather. When you look at Indonesia and you know that they know how to play the early game so well, maybe lessen that, or maybe have a more specific approach that they almost had here in game number 1, where it was quite obvious that they wanted to extend the game, that they wanted to give Speedy the time to go online by late game. But sadly, that didn't translate in the laning phase because, number 1, Speedy got solo killed by CW. That's already huge.
Yeah.
That slowed down the ramp for Nathan by a lot of minutes. Then second is we didn't see a lot of rotations coming in from the side of Egypt that would eventually put the Nathan in a good advantage against his opponent, in which case this 1-1. So hopefully we see those systematic changes as we enter in game number 2. And if not, then we might just see Indonesia do the same thing again and get this series via sweep.
We've seen, how Indonesia has managed to at least abuse those mistakes that Egypt has been getting. And going back to what you were mentioning a while ago regarding the rotations, the Nathan, courtesy of Speedy, was getting some kills in like the later portions of the game. But just imagine if those kills arrived pretty early in the matchup, right? That is how CW was able to scale on his own, because at least 6 minutes of gameplay, he already has 4 kills. And at that moment, it's going to be so difficult to stop that 1-1 if you are Egypt, even though you have some of the tankiest, the beefiest heroes in your lineup. That's not going to be enough when the 1-1 finally goes and lands that crossbow of tank to its convenience.
And we did see a lot of crossbow of tanks in this game number 1. Sadly, we haven't seen him pass around that crossbow of tank, because if there's one thing that Egypt really did well in that team fight against Chewe-powered 1-1, they were able to spread out evenly. Like, even if CW gets a kill out of the crossbow of tank, it wouldn't get passed around. And that's one of the worst nightmares if you're up against a good 1-1 player, because trust me when I say this, when we talk about 1-1, it's usually Kelra and CW, you know? Those are the two names that would pop up in your head when you say the word 1-1. But if actually Benny Cutie as well, honestly, those 3 people. So when we look at CW playing this 1-1, we know that he holds this certain level of mastery. And when the 1-1 flies, first thing that you gotta do is to make sure that, one, you either survive via Winter's Crown or just pure HP alone. Second is not have any teammates around you, because the worst thing that you could do is pass the sickness, you know? It's the same thing when you have like a cough. You wouldn't want a cough right in front of your dad, right? Like, you wouldn't want your parents to suffer the same fate as you.
I mean, as of this moment, I feel like CW just understands the hero so well, understands what he needs to do to be able to land the maximum amount of potential damage that the 1-1 could give. And you're right, possibly the top 3 1-1 players ever would be, you know, Kelra, CW, and Benny QT in no particular order. So I feel like
no particular order, just making sure.
No particular order, just just trying to stay safe here, because again, there's a lot of like random clippers everywhere that could, but again, it's all good, it's all chill. I hope they keep doing what they're doing, because it gives a lot of like energy and vibes that are needed by the people. But again, as I was saying, this is probably one of those clippable moments, whether on the good side or on the bad side, for Indonesia. If they get the win here, they get clipped to be good and heading into the playoffs. But if they lose 2 straight here, it's it's a clippable moment.
It's another chance.
But yeah, we're going to get
for Indonesia, it's another chance to redeem themselves. After that tough loss against Saudi Arabia, a lot of doubters spawned, a lot of bashers, if I'm being honest. Like, it's all around the internet right now. And there's nothing wrong about that. Like, they're not attacking the people in general. They're talking about what happened in the game. So that's good. But for Indonesia, they don't care about that. They just want to win this game so they can continue in this tournament. It doesn't matter what Albert said like a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago. What matters is that they stay alive. And by staying alive, they got to end Egypt now. Because Egypt, they're also fighting for the same things as Indonesia. And as we look at these bans, it's very much almost identical to what we've seen in game number 1, apart from the Cho being banned this early.
Yeah, it's as of this moment, we get to see some sort of like similarities in terms of like the bans. Indonesia is going to be at the position again on whether or not they would ban both the Alpha and the Suyu, and that's exactly what they're going to do. So Alpha is banned, Suyu is open, but I feel like Indonesia is planning some sort of idea here, and wow, for the first time, yeah. I'm speechless, bro. I haven't seen this in a while.
Is this legal? Actual question. Is this legal to lock in the Granger right now? Like,
yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so. We haven't you gotta let that marinate for 2 weeks, brother. I wish I could see that Granger, but sadly, no. The chip locked in for the side of Egypt, and this is quite game breaking. We did see the Lu Yi coming in from Indonesia, almost the same type of concept where you could just bring so many people all around the map. And for Egypt this time around, they would need a lot of ways to pull the trigger. It cannot just be this chip. They would need another guy that could potentially start that fight, and that's not Joy. They take the Louis too. Okay,
I like it. I like the pick here coming in from Egypt, because again, you have the choice. You have a hero that can easily escape the chase, which is the Hilda, and then you also have the Eve that you could probably go head to head with in terms of like damage output and just the poking capabilities. But that ship really is, the determining factor on how successful this Egyptian composition is going to be like for Egypt, because again, you're going to have to worry about other things. And I really do find that interesting that they picked the Harith in this kind of situation to go up against the Louis, because like one dispersion connection combo is gonna react very well for Indonesia if they don't play their cards too bad. But if they play their cards in not the correct way possible, then Egypt has all of the potential counters to potentially bring them down.
I mean, they have the mobility. Sure, they do have that, and they have the damage as well, but a lot of their damage is magical so far. They would need a lot of AoE physical damage and somebody that can move around really well. So I understand this Moscow ban coming in from Indonesia. I would say taking out the Beatrix could be safe too. I'm quite sure that Egypt is not in any way would play a Lunox at this time. So this Harith is pretty much safe. If Egypt plays the Lunox, they gotta draft an XP lane that deals damage. That becomes a problem. So the Ruby is still available if you want to go full team fight. And honestly speaking, the Ruby is still a good pick for the side of Indonesia here. You give Ruby to Kiboy, and this lineup will be OG throwback of the MPL Season 8 trio, where we always see the Eve, Harith, plus the Ruby. So this is one of those classic throwbacks for Indonesia. I would say if you're Egypt, you kind of want to steal away the Arlot or the Ruby, and also make sure that you have access to some AoE marksman that deals physical damage. So would really recommend the Beatrix here.
Yeah, Beatrix is not going to be a scenario here possibly for Egypt, because Indonesia can use that hero very, very well. And not to mention, they also eliminated the Moscow because they don't want to have another global ult added into the composition of Egypt. You already have the Loyi, you already have the chip, so you don't need any other sort of teleportation device here coming from the other heroes as well. But the Khalid is going to be the final ban here for the side of Egypt. You have the Tide Drill as well, which honestly is not a bad pick if you ask me. If you find them somewhere, then maybe they could handle all of that in terms of the implosion, and they could land most of that in terms of like the composition when that portal starts to arrive to some of the members. But here is the dissector of that idea, the dissector of the concept that they would have. So I feel like this is a possible scenario that they would want to go for. Just take the Akai and eliminate the threat of the Tigreal immediately.
Yeah, and Akai definitely one of those picks that is very annoying if you're playing the Tigreal. It's so hard to get a great implosion whenever the heavy spin is available, and surely it's gonna be a lot of trouble as well for this Harith if there's no available Purify. And I guess this is the answer for the side of Egypt. A lot of AoE physical damage coming in from this Claude. You add as well the Akai counter pick to this Tigreal and the Harith. Things are looking great for Egypt so far. And wow, first time in MLBB history, last pick Suyu. Wow. But Albert landing on that Suyu pick, I would say that this caps off their draft quite nicely too. A good mix of physical and magical damage and a lot of crowd control if you ask me. So in terms of draft, I'm just excited how Egypt is going to play this, because that's a lot of mobility. But sure, you have the mobility, but you gotta know how to use that too.
Yeah, you're gonna have to know where you're going, right? What the next step is gonna be like for you and the rest of the members in. Because yes, you do have the chip, but what is gonna be Chip's main idea towards his approach in this game number two? Because again, it's the tournament life on the line for both of these teams. Win twice, or Egypt wins twice, Indonesia's eliminated. Indonesia gets this game for only one time, then it's Egypt who's eliminated. The winner of this matchup will be facing, or should I say, will no longer be facing anyone, because they will be able to make it all the way through into that playoff spot. And as we were saying a while ago, I feel like Indonesia's just back to regular programming. They would want to make sure that their presence is felt by Kenji.
Interesting decision here coming in from Egypt. They left the Joy alone, knowing that they're up against a Hilda. And I feel like this is going to be a game-breaking decision for them. That's going to delay the Joy for quite a while. Not only did Joki get that small purple thingy with the actual purple buff, which means that Kenji's just severely delayed compared to Albert, who's already in level 3, cleared 2 buffs already in Lethal Wanderer. And that's just because of one decision of leaving the Joy alone. Hopefully that's their first and only mistake in not taking care of their Joy, because that's where they're going to get their mid-game damage.
As of the moment, they're trying to replicate the same thing again. This time in the orange buff, you see Luke cut down to at least a sliver of his health, but he has managed to stay alive. So, you know, Egypt trying to pick up the pace immediately as to how they would want to approach this game, but Luke just being saved by those passives from the HP bar, the shield to the Hilda, just, you know, really paying dividends for him. But as of the moment, it's going to be CW taking a huge amount of damage, cutting his HP bar into half, but he still stays alive as we speak.
And this is good for Egypt. They're able to recover. Now it is an even level 4 battle for the retribution for the first turtle, but I feel like they're not really gonna go for it. The chip ultimate is available, but immediately Kenji goes down. Maro's not gonna call for backup anymore, but Alpha is already there. The heavy spin is available. They find Kiboy, and looks like Kiboy's gonna go down to the Lu Yi, and Luke will not be able to find a trade-off, but Alpha might just bite the dust here. That's 2 kills going to the hands of Indonesia, plus the turtle and Luke able to survive via that passive once again. What a calculated play coming in from this XP laner.
Really huge close calls from Indonesia, but they were still able to escape in the middle of misery here. Egypt, on the other hand, not so successful, with most of their 2 players as 2 have already gone down, and that right there is Alpho and Kenji. For Alpho, I feel like for most of the users of Akai in this specific tournament, they really have been utilizing it to just pin down the rest of the members in, but that was a good implosion play, and it might be too late for the rest of the members of Egypt to just assist them. Joki's already down.
And that's also a wasted shortcut if you're Maro. So that was a great play coming in from Kiboy. Yes, that burnt a flicker, but that was a flicker well burnt. And now Alpha gonna find Luke. A bit of trade-offs here for the XP laners, and Kiboy just giving out the vision for Indonesia. Looking at Jockey once again. Real World already set as well, and he's gonna go down. Jockey in his second death of this game number 2.
Yeah, this is just very difficult for Egypt as we speak. Just like what you've mentioned, right? They do have a lot of global skills, global ults. Just a good thing that at least they were able to take Luke down, finally getting him to commit his first death in this one. They have a chance to even grace the energy shields brought about by the turret, but apparently it's Sans and the rest of the members, and Albert, my goodness. He is not wasting any time whatsoever getting a kill towards Joki.
They're timing the flicker, they're timing the kills, and Maro looks to be going down as well. Shortcut used, but none respond. CW going in front of Speedy here, but look at the damage coming in from Albert. Alpha with a great heavy spin, but he has to go out. Kenji looking for that play. Electrifying beats on a 5, gets 1, but the Real World keeps him in. And Indonesia taking a lot of kills away from Egypt. in the lead at 3K.
Again, that's for the price of one. Indonesia, just knowing the concept of trades, they know when to strike at the fastest scenario possible. You see Egypt just, trying to take their time. They know that they don't have the damage output from the claw just yet, but Indonesia, they know that the time is not on their side. Maybe it could go on their side, but they would also know when it is time to strike a move, to strike a pose towards making sure that most of these gigs are going to be possible. But Egypt trying to hold their own in this one, and Speedy just read by the rest of the members in.
Oh, here comes the real world. Zaman Force used as well. A lot of dives coming in from Indonesia.
No way.
They take another kill. The shortcuts are being used and we can't see what's happening. But there is a lot of damage falling down. It's a 1-for-1 look goes down, but we haven't seen how he fell down. Still a kill for the both squads.
Yeah, they got a kill. At least that's what they wanted. As we speak, another kill goes into the hands of Genji. You have a kill on Joki as well. But I feel like the main character for the later portions of the game has to be Speedy. They need to find a way to include him in most of the team fights, and I feel like that's what they're trying to do now. But until Speedy is at the bottom of that map and he's trying to fight it, he's trying to find something as of the moment, but he couldn't go at it right now because of the fact that Luke and even Kiboy are giving them such a hard time in trying to look for those damage dealers, and with that they have already established a 4K gold lead that has been beneficial for this team so far.
And another turret goes down to the hands of Indonesia. The gold lead only grows. It's now 4,000 in the favor of Indonesia, and they're still looking for their next kill. What's good about Egypt is that they do have the arsenal to pull the trigger. They have the mobility, but they haven't really found the creative usage for it. All of their shortcuts have been reactive for the plays coming in of Indonesia, and they gotta be able to pull that trigger at least once. Find Indonesia in a spot that they do not want to be in, but looks like the turtle is gonna go to Indonesia for free, and that will be the third and last turtle shortcut used here. Maro getting bursted down. Real world already used with the Salmon Force, but electrifying beats deals a lot of damage, gets shut down by Luke immediately. That's a kill going to the hands of Indonesia.
It was too easy. They know the best time to turn, and during that time, that was at the 6 minutes and 45 seconds of that fight. Maro just looking for ways to be able to get included, but this is going to be the second death of the chip. Rarely do we ever say that, just because of how important it has been for most of the members of Indonesia to have been there, make sure that they could find something, but apparently not, because in a little bit more than a minute, Indonesia is already in cruise control of this game.
And speaking of control, Indonesia is just forcing it again and again, but Luke might be in a tough spot here, but the real world comes in clutch, and K-Boy with the play finds 3, but the damage coming in from Speedy starting to hurt now. He's going to be able to walk away, but that's already a 3-man kill squad coming in from Indonesia, and 514 is the kill score right now.
Just taking their sweet time are the Indonesians. They know that they have one of the biggest leads so far in the tournament, at 9,000 almost in terms of gold lead, and I feel like for Egypt, there's not a lot of things that you can do given the composition. You're gonna have to depend on Joki and Speedy as well, and there is a fake diversion play, and usually a lot of people would do that to try and set themselves up for either success or failure. But Indonesia practically doesn't believe that, and he wants us to also pursue other things, and that's what they said. But as of the moment, here he goes again.
Another implosion play, and look at the zone control coming in from Sand and CW. Maro might just bite the dust. K-Boy tackles him into the wall, and that's 2 people down for Egypt as another 1v1 happens here. But nothing's gonna happen because that's a Nakai and that's a Hilda, and now we're having fun. MLBB, IESF 2024.
Yep, that's 2024 for you. No matter how, or no matter how many the rest of the ideas are here for Egypt. They will always have, a certain space in my heart if they want to. But as of the moment, it's Egypt who's just looking for ways to extend this game. Speedy, 1-1 as we speak. At least he got a kill for himself. Kenji is already having a hard time trying to get the members to, commit the damage output on him and for him to actually take care of it. So Maro is gonna have some cleanup to do, maybe even Alpha as well. But I am looking forward as to how this game is going to be ending. Is this the end? Will Indonesia find their way out of the group stages, or will Egypt take us to another game number 3?
We'll see, because this is just a level 1 Lord. Very deafable if you ask me, but Egypt, they're going to be able to throw out the damage to Luke and not to the Lord, and this is very crucial. That was a great play coming in from Luke, but Kenji already burning the electrifying beats, and Joki, half HP, has to go back. Doesn't really get that Harith explosion rather, as they defend the mid lane. 2 inhibitor turrets down for Egypt, and Indonesia is looking to clear out the 3rd one as well, but they're going to respect it this time around. They're just going to go back off.
Yeah, they're looking for a way for them to continue the initiation if they want to, but look at this. It's going to be Alpha joining the party. Apparently, that's not the best decision there so far, as Indonesia, they know that the diversion is going on, and they might go for the end.
Yeah, they might just go for the end here. Look at the burst damage. 3 people immediately gone, and Speedy says goodbye as Indonesia gets the clean sweep.
Yo, that was pretty quick, and we got our answer, Omi. The question was, how is the Indonesian team gonna approach this game knowing that they've already been defeated by underdogs? And I guess we got our answer from that. Domination has been the answer of Indonesia so far in the series when they went up against their